Hello YouTube, Zactophene Aconite here, and hopefully this will be the last video I've got to do on the matter for a while, because it's pretty fucking exhausting to have to play the broken record again. But a recent encounter on Gothic Amino has compelled me to do so, so I'll make this as brief as I possibly can. Basically, it was yet another novice asking how one becomes goth. Simple answer is it's a transformation from the inside out based on your admiration for the genre. It's optional whether or not you want to wear the fashion, but apparently this kid was only ever interested in the fashion, which is evident because he mentioned that he was male. A, within reason, just about any article of clothing could be unisex. B, goth is in you, not on you, as quoted by DeSantis on Gothic Amino, one of our, debatably our most faithful and fucking, you just gotta check her out for yourself. I mean, her Songs of the Week playlist, little to no one really ever bothers with music related, content anymore, online or off. Well, maybe not off. I mean, there's much more people, offline that are going to the clubs and actually contributing to, what makes goth. Because some people found the music before the aesthetic, and whether or not I was conscious of it, I was one of those people the first time I heard The Cure on the radio at age 7, 8, 9 years old, in the drive-thru over to In-N-Out. Which may be TMI, but, whatever. For the longest time, too, I've been pretty hesitant to display, especially since I've already done it on, Amino or whatever. I've been pretty hesitant to display the way that I store my CDs, just because I don't believe in using digital music. It doesn't feel like it's real to me. It doesn't exist to me. Especially if it's something that you had to steal to get, which why would you pirate from someone you only allegedly love and support the sound of? That's like going to work and not getting paid. Why would you hinder that? So yeah, this used to be a poker set from, my childhood or whatever, a play poker set, complete with chips and 2 decks of cards, which my brothers were kind enough to steal for me, so I've got the stickers all over here, which need to be restuck and re-adhered because apparently the surface just isn't adequate enough for that. You can pause that, I guess, if you want. But I converted the whole damn thing, full DIY, into black backgrounds and fabric and whatever have you. None of this was, None of this was originally the way that it is. This is all cardboard and black cloth that I hot glued in. I've only got like a handful of CDs, which is part of the reason I didn't even want to bring up the music, because I'll be the first to admit, I don't listen to that much music to begin with. But at least I know the genre. I know the sounds. I love it. It's the reason I am who I am, especially today. And but something any actual elitist would say is that you're only goth if you listen to just goth music exclusively. Which I'm not saying that at all. Nobody is saying that at all. Because another one of his dumbass arguments was, isn't that sort of strict? I mean, do all goths listen to goth music? You're not goth if you only look the proverbial part. You're a fucking poser or just darkly inclined. That's like asking if all metalheads listen to metal music, or do they just look like bikers without the bikes? Do all punks listen to punk music, or do they just shave every hair off the sides of their heads? Do all country people listen to country music, or are they all just naturally, inbred looking and sounding? Right? Right? It only makes sense. But yeah, I barely even, own I barely even own any of the music, as a whole. I mostly listen to my shit on YouTube or whatever, just because it's free. But it kind of defeats part of my argument there. But there's a fine line between being someone who actually cares about what the subculture is, someone who's actually a part of it, and someone who's just in it for the fashion. Someone who just loves the look of it. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up about actual elitism too, is because most elitists I know of, for the longest time, made it about the aesthetic. Like you're only as goth as you look, and as soon like I've been sick most of my childhood, and even in my adulthood, not a whole lot has changed. So if I'm sick as a dog with a towel of shame under me as I'm struggling to stay, somewhat asleep, and I feel the urge to vomit or, cough up a lung or a rib or whatever, do you really think I'm going to be doing that with fishnets on my legs, arms, and dick? Black lipstick on my mouth, my eyes, my nails, or whatever the hell, that no one looks the proverbial part of a goth all the time, especially if they're actual goths. We're people too. I know it's easy to forget, especially if you're, an enemy to it, if you're an outsider who has animosities towards it based on the propaganda, but this is yet more propaganda. I don't reckon it's as harmful or as far-fetched, but it's still there, and it needs to end. Because another argument that these posers have is that goth is changing. Have you ever actually compared the old stuff to the new stuff? Joy Division, Sisters of Mercy, Bauhaus, fucking, Specimen. They all sound almost exactly like what we've got now. The Hearse, Drab Majesty, I can't name them off the top of my head, alright? All I know is the sound. And part of the reason, that's part of the reason why I can't name them, because I'm so wrapped up in the emotions of it all, the vibe of it all, the atmosphere of it all, the ambiance of it all. And if you think the ambiance that you get off of just the aesthetic alone, like I'm no, stranger to it all. I've got floating candles and bats and everything. I got a wreath over there made of fake roses, black feathers, and a inverted pentacle made of sticks. Pentagram, not pentacle. But I guess it's a pentacle now because it's part of a wreath, a circular wreath. I'm willing to admit that I've got my materialistic faults here and there, but if you think the aesthetic generates a sort of ambiance to it, just you wait until you find your own sound, because it's only going to get better from there. Keep exploring, don't get discouraged, and first and foremost, don't ever fucking give up. Don't think just because you heard some of the classics, some of the staple bands, that all goth music is going to sound exactly like that. Do you really think that every gothic gentleman, or just any male singer as a whole, is going to sound as, like they got their sack in a vice like Robert Smith or whatever the hell? That's not what I go for personally, and I obviously am fully aware that that's not how the genre sounds. Even, she people there, even the, the women, the girls, the niños, the mujeres, they don't exactly sound like they're on helium either. I mean, they don't sound like men, but they... Switchblade Symphony, look them up, thank me later. Fucking A. Fucking A. I feel like I'm losing my mind as I'm making these videos. It's such a dead and tired argument by this point. Especially what with how many posers there are online lurking about, influencing younger, people within... I gotta take this off, I'm sweating up like a swine here, but... Jake Monroe is not the first, and I know for a rock-solid fact that he ain't gonna be the last. Because Richie, Social Repose, a couple years back, he was doing the exact same shit. He makes emo music but calls himself a goth just because he doesn't exactly look that much like the stereotypical image of an emo. Why are you so hooked up on looks? I get it. Humanity itself is a very, visually influenced, race of beings. We use our eyes a lot, but what we don't use enough, which is evident with goth apparently these days, what we don't use is our ears. And I've got relatively small ears, so you can't even see that I'm pushing them forward, so the sideburns don't help much either. But yeah, hopefully through my whatever this is. I wanted to make another painting video, but I mean, this has got to end. I would have thought a year ago when Snowy Lowther got called out that maybe this would have wound up sort of simmering down a little, but the shit's still in the pot, and it's reeking from Europe all the way to here. So, uh, shit, man. Just drop your stories down below. If there's anyone who's ever come up to you online or off about, looking the part, it's a Google search could teach you how to look the part. Okay, being darkly inclined, there's nothing wrong with that. Being, gothically inclined, when you take it a step further with, gothic literature, whatever the hell. There's nothing wrong with being gothic. There's nothing wrong with using the titles. But when you're using them like labels, trivial adjectives, it's like Billie Eilish going from goth to emo during, her alleged respect for, the subculture for giving her such aesthetical inspiration. Titles are not labels. It's such a dumb argument, really. I would have hoped by now that it'd be over and done with, but it's just gonna keep coming. There's a new wave of them every time. I will admit, though, at least the posers from way back when actually tried as hard as, they were definitely try-hards. They were as materialistic as it gets. If you've seen, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but there were all these people getting interviewed, around these big old looking mansions, some place that you would expect, stereotypically at least, that maybe an old couple that died there recently, bunch of teenage goth kids came in or whatever. They was like, oh, well, this looks nice, but let's add some taxidermy, is essentially what happened. And, they were definitely much more materialistic. They were the ones who believed that it's mostly on you instead of in you or whatever. Like, at least they actually tried. Narcissistic as they were, they fucking tried. As opposed to now, where it's essentially, oh, well, could somebody please recommend me some bands? Thank you. Asking is one thing, but only if you're that fucking desperate. Way back when, the 80s, the 90s, even the turn of the century, nobody used the internet for anything. They had to go out and search it for themselves. They weren't so apathetic as to just let everyone do the work for them, or hope like hell that everyone would. This is stupid. I almost don't want to use the same outro for this just because the tone is as insane and off as it is. But I've been feeling this way a good long while now. It's just, I never really feel like I want to vent because I usually find some means of escapism about it, whether it's watching movies or reading books or especially the music itself. Painting is a good one, a very recent one. But it needs to be said. And I highly encourage that many others, especially online, do the same. Bring more awareness to the genre. Bring much more awareness to the music, especially your favorite bands of it. Floodland by the Sisters of Mercy, as of today, is officially, this is their 32nd anniversary. I just found out today, so just go look that up for yourself if you haven't already. But as a matter of fact, somebody actually suggested that we make November 13th official Sisters of Mercy Day, which I'd be all up for that since Floodland is one of my favorite albums of theirs. So yeah. I don't even own that many CDs, but what little I do own is still enough. And I don't even just listen to goth music alone. I'm one of the bastards who listens to Nickelback. Fucking Nickelback, which nobody, for whatever reason, likes. But like I said, it's really just something, music itself is something that you have to give a chance. Maybe I should just end this here. If you like, please like. Feel free to share your obscure little thoughts in the comments below, as well as to share the video itself. Subscribe if you wish to see more. Don't forget to hit the bell if you do. And as always, thank you so very much for watching. I love you all. And please don't be a delusional, narcissistic poser about this. Use the facts, not the fallacies. You know how I feel about fallacies.